Now they're not going to give her the bucket. And she's frustrated by it.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I am pissed right now. I am absolutely furious. I'm telling you, I cannot believe what I just watched. The Indiana Fever lose another frustrating game to the Atlanta Dream, and I'm sitting here wondering what exactly Stephanie White is doing on that sideline. Stephanie White, this is unacceptable. The coaching decisions tonight were terrible. The officiating was terrible. The rotations were terrible. Everything about this game left me shaking my head. And let's be honest here. Caitlin Clark deserved better. Caitlin Clark goes out there every single night, takes all the contact, gets grabbed, gets bumped, gets held, and somehow the whistles never seem to go her way. But the second somebody breathes on another player, the refs are quick to blow the whistle. How does that make any sense? Caitlin Clark ends up in foul trouble because Stephanie White refuses to challenge obvious bad calls. That's what makes this even more frustrating. The calls are happening right in front of the bench. They're right there for everybody to see. Stephanie White, what are you looking at? Use your challenge. Protect your star player. That's your job. Instead, Caitlin Clark picks up 5 fouls, spends valuable minutes on the bench in the fourth quarter, and the Indiana Fever offense completely falls apart. And don't even get me started on the reactions from the team after the game. I'm seeing players smiling and laughing after a loss like this. Losing should hurt. This team should be upset. Fans are investing their time and energy into this team, and what we're seeing on the court is simply not good enough. Amber Cox, you deserve criticism too. This roster construction makes no sense. You had opportunities in free agency to improve this team, and this is what you came up with? Monique Billings is supposed to be a key addition, but she can't stay on the floor during critical moments in the fourth quarter. If you're paying a player that kind of money, they need to be available when the game is on the line. Instead, we see Michaela Timpson playing important minutes late in the game. Now, let me be clear. I'm not blaming Michaela Timpson. She's a young player trying to contribute. She made mistakes, sure, but she shouldn't even be in that position. That's on the coaching staff. That's on the front office. That's on Stephanie White and Amber Cox. Then you look at the draft decisions. You selected Raven Johnson 9th overall, and she barely sees the floor. She played only a few minutes, and when she did get opportunities, she struggled. How are players supposed to develop if they aren't given consistent roles? And then there's Ty Harris. You know things are bad when Ty Harris is getting extended minutes and the offense still looks completely stagnant. Nobody can make a shot. Nobody can create offense. Nobody seems to know their role. Everything looks disorganized. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is carrying the entire load. She enters the fourth quarter with 26 points and 7 assists. 26 points, 7 assists, and somehow she finishes the game with those exact same numbers because she barely touches the ball in the fourth quarter. How is that possible? How does your best player not get a single shot attempt in the most important quarter of the game? That's coaching malpractice. If Caitlin Clark is on the floor, the offense should run through Caitlin Clark. It's really that simple. Instead, Stephanie White waits until there's only 3 minutes left to put her back into the game after foul trouble. And when Caitlin Clark finally returns, she's standing around while everyone else handles the ball. Why? What is the strategy? What is the plan? If you're not going to involve Caitlin Clark offensively, then what was the point of putting her back into the game? Nothing about it makes sense. And don't tell me the officials didn't impact this game. There were multiple calls that had fans confused. Even the announcers questioned some of the whistles. When commentators are openly saying they didn't like a call, you know something is wrong. Caitlin Clark gets hit, grabbed, and bumped all night long, and the refs let it go. But then they call questionable fouls that completely change the momentum of the game. That's why fans are frustrated. That's why people are angry, because all anybody wants is consistency. Call the game the same way for everybody. That's it. And Brienne January, if you're standing next to Stephanie White and watching these calls happen in real time, somebody has to speak up. Somebody has to demand a challenge. Somebody has to fight for Caitlin Clark, because right now it doesn't feel like anybody is. The Indiana Fever have too much talent to look this disorganized. Aaliyah Boston deserves better. Caitlin Clark deserves better. The fans deserve better. This isn't just about one loss to the Atlanta Dream. This is about a pattern. Questionable rotations, poor late-game execution, missed opportunities to challenge calls, lack of offensive adjustments, and a front office that has to answer serious questions about roster construction. Amber Cox needs to explain these decisions. Stephanie White needs to explain these rotations, because what we're watching right now isn't working. At some point, accountability matters. At some point, excuses run out. The Indiana Fever cannot continue wasting performances from Caitlin Clark. 26 points and 7 assists should be enough to put your team in position to win. Instead, we're talking about missed challenges, questionable officiating, confusing substitutions, and a complete lack of offensive identity in the fourth quarter. That's unacceptable. This team needs answers. This organization needs accountability, because if things keep going like this, the frustration from fans is only going to get louder. And honestly, after watching this game, who can blame them? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for either of you guys tied it up at 95. There's about 3 minutes to go, and then they scored almost every trip down the stretch. Did you feel were the defensive failings in those final minutes?
I think it comes down to, obviously you want great teams to take tough shots. I think we kind of lapsed in that area. We got a little too many people involved on the roster. We think about some of their bench. We let them be active. I think we kind of shot us in the foot a little bit. It was always hard to catch up.
Yeah, for either of you again, they scored 60 points in the paint. Just what was the breakdown close to the basketball?
Yeah, I think in transition they got easy ones, and then I think they, however many fast break points, 17, so that's, probably that right there contributed to it, and points off turnovers. I thought a lot of times, that's probably on us guards, getting into the ball a little bit better so we don't have to rotate, but I think we could have done a little bit better. We're going to have to rotate at some point, and we kind of went back to our old ways where that second rotation we didn't get, and then they scored off the 90 cuts and the 45 cuts, so we've got to do better in that area. Like Kelsey said, essentially everybody on their team shot over 50%. It's really hard to win a basketball game when that's the case.
Kelsey, what do you feel like you all can do to kind of make sure that your offensive runs translate into better energy on defense?
I think Coach hammered home a good point about making sure the defense is what you value first. You guys see us at our best, and I always say this, you guys see us at our best when we are defending. And I think that when we let people get too comfortable, you don't get your best offensive segments that you probably should.
All right, thank you.